solution that helps our entire community, not just our largest buildings. So without further ado, I hand it over to Mark Fisher.
Excel spreadsheets. So we put it all together. 247 million gallons of water in 2005, the largest user of the city of Cincinnati. 250 million gallons, $600,000, right? And holy smokes, and no one was even asking questions. So I'm like, I don't know where we're going with this, but we're going to start with water. And as a constructor, I knew right where to start. So if you're an organization, no offense to all the consultants in here, but if you're an organization, that's your organization, and you want to talk to somebody that actually knows how to find out where the water's going and how to fix it, who would you call?
Water company.
Yes, the plumber, right? If you want to lower your KW or KWH, who are you going to call? The electrician, your HVAC tech, your controls tech. These people have all the answers to all these problems, but no one ever asked them, ever. But we do, right? This comes out of our respect for people in the front line. My years of return. So go to my plumbers, but hey dudes, of course they're all like screwing off the back shop, union, city employees, it's terrible, it's a total joke, not doing anything, complaining about not having time to do anything while they're sitting there playing dominoes. So keep in mind, I came from Turner. If anybody here from Turner in construction, it is intense. Every 5 minutes it counts. Get her done. You go to the zoo and people are like, woo, so it's only Tuesday. So I'm like, all right, plumbers, we're gonna go plumb something. So I go to the plumbers, I'm like, hey, where's this water going? They're like, I know where it's going. I'm like, let's go. So next time you're at the zoo and snow leopard exhibit, through the mesh, you look there, turn around, you'll see a stone wall about 40 feet back in the bushes. It's the old entry down to the old cheetah exhibit. So go down there, and that wall had like water on it. Not like flowing, but it was moist. I don't like that word, but it's not even coming to mind. So it was moist. And our plumber's like, I know that's a leak, but my predecessor said that was a spring. Now, if anybody here took geology at UC or whatever, so the zoo's at the top of the hill, uptown Cincinnati. There's no Yellowstone, magma. It was a leak, but we were too lazy to get out. That's why we didn't fix it, because we were lazy. Mentally, physically, and spiritually lazy. So we got after it. So we got in there, and it was a classic city project. We hear from the city. Oliver's here, but you're fine. So there's like a 15-foot diameter hole, 4 feet deep, one person in the hole, 15 people around the hole, like making sure it's done properly. Safety, look out. Anyway, I'm one of those people. So we get down there, we find it. What we found is a 4-inch water main had sheared off. And what was going on is that water had bored a tunnel to a nearby crushed, buried combined sewer manhole. So 99.9% of us went straight into combined sewers and down into Mill Creek, right? So, okay, cool, we found it, we fixed it. So I'm sitting there next to Pat Callahan, who I just met. I've been in the zoo for like 10 days. I'm like, hey Pat, good to introduce you, da. He's like, yeah, man, that wall's been wet ever since I've been here. I'm like, well, how long have you been here, Pat? 37 years. I'm like, so for at least 37 years, right? So anyway, so that was hilarious, embarrassing, gross, disgusting, inspiring, whatever. And so we got done with that, we fixed it up, and we said next. And we went to Manatee and we did next, and next, and next. And the mantra was, if it's a leak in this facility, it's a freaking emergency. That's going to get addressed today. Like right now. If we got to work overtime, like right now, today, we're going to fix it. Which is a little bit of a mind shift for our maintenance department. So that's what we did. So it was a war on waterways. We got after it, pushed and pushed. And what do you think started happening to our waterways? They're going down so fast, I didn't say anything because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still not sure I'm reading the bills right. I didn't want to say, woo, and then the next month it's up 50%, I'm looking stupid, so I'm like, so go through that first summer, and they're way down, like through the whole summer, like 30 grand. So I went to Thane, and I'm like, Thane, dude, I know he's just been promoted, and he took over a total dumpster fire financially, and we're losing money, hundreds of thousands per month in the red. I'm like, Thane, that 30,000 that's in my water budget, I want to spend it. And here's why, and I had a bunch of fancy charges from an engineer. And he was like, go ahead and spend it. And I didn't think of it at the time, I didn't think much of it, but that discussion was actually the beginning of our sustainability program. Was getting our zoo to realize that reinvesting in infrastructure was literally as important as anything we did. Literally as important. And so that's what we did. And we get to this in a second, I'm skipping around a little bit. But we took that money and we invested it in things that maybe we couldn't do in-house. Maybe we had a 20-inch valve that was 30 feet in the ground, I don't want my guys down there. Or we had an ozone generator, Nancy was below, I'm not fixing that. So we fixed that. And then so we fixed those things, which made our systems better, which then saved us more water, right? Which just saved us more money. And I kept going back to things like every, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months, like, dude, can I spend it, can I spend it, can I spend it? And after like the 5th trip, he's like, dude, if it's in your budget and no one gets killed, I don't care what you do with the money, period. He totally didn't say that, but that's what I got in the discussion. Off we go, no stopping us. So today, the cumulative utility savings at our zoo since 2006 is over $20 million. Now, a lot of fancy folks in here like, whatevs, that's like a rounding error for my organization. In zoo dollars, $20 million is like 20 trillion freaking dollars. That is, our operating budget, you can't even believe it. So we went from 85% reduction in water usage, our energy intensity has been cut in half, and on and on and on. And our utility bills went from 10% of our operating budget to 2% today. So what do you think our board and our CFO thinks about our sustainability program? Like, hell yeah, we're doing this. 10 years ago, we're like, now we're like, woo, like what's next? But that was years and years and years of success and failures. Lord, we failed, holy smokes, we own it every time, we get better. So that's the engine of the background, okay? So it's what's in the mechanical closets, what's in the janitor's closets, what's on the roof, on the ground, this attention to detail. Where's our stuff come from? Well, that's the detail that we get into that has saved us a bunch of money and open up windows to get into doing things that are not appropriate and at times illegal. We'll get to that here in a second. So, all good, that's the history. Then we get about 5 years ago, our 150-year anniversary is coming up in 2025, and we're like, let's go net zero. Let's do it. No excuses. Boom. All right, no problem. So I got that swirled into the capital campaign without people really knowing about it. So net zero water, net zero waste, net zero energy. Why are we doing it? How are we going to get there? All these different things. Let's start. I'm just going to focus on waste and energy, or energy and water, because I don't have enough time to get in all of it. So you all know we poop in our drinking water, right? Everybody knows that? Yeah. I'm going to reinforce that. Okay, so here's what happens. So we have the oldest sewer system in the United States of America. Did you know that? But many things to be proud of here. So we have the oldest poop chute in the city, in the country. So sewage, rain, same pipes, can't handle it. Goes down to Guest Street. MSD can't handle it. They open up sluice gates. 15 billion gallons of sewage into the Ohio River every year. That's where we get our drinking water from, right? Now, on Kellogg Avenue, where they pull the water in, just so happens to be upstream when we poop in it. So Louisville drinks our poop, right? So it's not actually not our problem. Woo, whatever, not our problem. Of course, Pittsburgh does the same. Thanks for drinking Pittsburgh poop. It's a big old thing. It's disgusting. And every city has this all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, right? St. Louis, all of it. So it's like a disgusting thing, right? Like our catfish, we have like 100-pound catfish with 3 penises and 17 eyeballs and all these things. It's because of that. It's a huge problem. So that's the best part. So the really challenging part of that, for me anyway, is when that's happening, the whole system's backing up, right? So it's backing up, and it comes out wherever it can come out of. Roads, sewers, curb inlets, whatever, and people's basements, right? The basements are typically the lowest points in the system. So what I have found disturbing, and when we started really digging into this with MSD, is there are 2 things that actually primarily determine whether you'll have sewage in your basement. 2 things. And that is not related to your elevation. What are those 2 things? I'll wait. She's seen my thing before. So, how much money you make and the color of your skin. That's it. Right? Does that bother anybody in here besides me? Like big time? Yeah. So it's like that with all things. Lead in the water lines, indoor air quality, lack of access to fresh food. Just go down the list. All environmental challenges always 100% of the time affect those that have the least the most. 100% of the time. And that's bullshit. Right? Now the zoo contributes to that, because we're Avondale, and so Avondale, like you go, and our poop in rainwater goes up to Mitchell, to Mill Creek. So I know you guys like hang out at Richie's Chicken a lot. We get their cheese fries are actually so So next time you just go to the drive-thru, get the rotisserie chicken, get the combo cheese fries, they're exceptional. All those homes and businesses out there flood with sewage every time there's a moderate rain event, not major, moderate rain event. We contribute to that. So as you all know already, the solution to all the world's biggest problems lie in the mind of a civil engineer. Right? Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. Okay, so here's what we did in the zoo. So we went to MSD and Waterworks and the health department and the EPA and everybody else would listen and said, hey, we want to, this is where Fiona is. So this is the old main parking lot of Derry Avenue. We're going to tear it up and we're going to collect that 20 acres of water from that third of the zoo. We're going to collect it, we're going to clean it, and we're going to put it back in the exhibits. And MSD was like, that's awesome and illegal, so you can't do it. Because it is. Almost every major city is like that. You can't just take your own rainwater, clean it, and reuse it in your facility. Almost every city in the United States, that's illegal. For different reasons, but it is what it is. So we're like, okay, so hold on a second. So, biggest environmental problem in Cincinnati, you could argue, in the county, is a strong argument. I would say it is. We have a hillbilly engineered solution, homegrown, cincinnatizoo, thank you very much. And you're saying we can't do it because of some law that was written in 1873 that has nothing to do with today? And we're like, yes. And we're like, we're going to do it anyway. You're going to arrest us. Like, sir, we're going to do it. And you're going to pay for it, by the way, too. So I need $1.4 million through the consent decree. In 3 years of pushing and being told no, and no, MSD to their credit said, let's do this. So we had U.S. Geological Survey involved, and University of Alabama, for whatever reason, I don't know, all involved, it was this crazy thing. And we put this thing in, and it was a total disaster. Partly because there's nothing like this in the United States of America. Nothing. We're talking about 20 acres, we're talking lion poop, Pepsi bottles, roof, water from everywhere. So there's no one to call. There's no white paper like, hey, Sally in Kansas City, how'd you do yours? There was nothing. So we had lots of issues, but because our maintenance team is freaking awesome, we've covered that already. We got underneath adjustments, we redid the pre-filtration, all these different things. We've had it in for 12 years now, pulling, at this point, well over 100 million gallons out of the system. So when next time you're looking at Fiona, she's swimming in rainwater. And it's awesome freaking water because there's nothing in it. There's no chlorine, there's nothing in it, right? It's a special class water for animals, and now I don't have to buy the water, so saving us money. Is keeping rainwater out of the county sewers, helping keep sewage out of our neighbors' basements, out of the Ohio River. And like, well, this is amazing and perfect. How come other people aren't doing this? Because it's really freaking hard. It's a major pain in the ass. It just is, right? But we have that desire, that will, and that stamina to push on these things. It's important to us. So we did that, and then, so horrible picture. Who's been to Zoo Safari? Thank you very much. This is where the tent used to be. This is the back parking lot. This will look like this in a year and a half. So this is the new elf facility, more homegrown, we've heard about this other stuff. This is actually the barn we're looking at. This is looking over that same stretch of asphalt. Here we go, MSD, you love us, we love you, let's dance. And we are putting in a 1 million gallon cistern under this exhibit. I say the term cistern loosely, but you get the gist. So in addition to our 400 we have in Africa, we have another 100 in Rue Valley, which we put in that you walk on when you walk through that exhibit. This will get us to net zero water. 100% of the rainwater that hits our site, we're going to grab it and reuse it. So I don't need any non-potable water used from the city whatsoever. This is awesome. Which again, is going to save us an obscene amount of money. I almost feel bad that we're going to save so much money to reinvest back in the zoo, back in the community, back in Avenue, all these things. And you think our staff are proud of this? So you come back to that brown thing, and hey, walk and walk, and actually doing it for the first time ever. Let's go, let's make this happen. So super excited. We actually break ground on this project Monday. Yes. So give us a couple years, we'll put it in, groundbreaking stuff. And not to get off on a tangent, but I'm going to do a 5-second tangent. Did you know we have a 600-acre farm in Warren County? Awesome. This is it, we turned it from this to this. So massive wetland reclamation project, 100 acres, honeybees, all these things, it's off the charts. Point is, it has to do with, and this goes in the Ohio River, eventually. It's about cleaning it up, slowing it down, whether it be in Avondale, Warren County, cleaning up our river, and keeping sewage out of our neighbors' basements is a big thing. So when we talk about net zero, yes, there's all these great things about net zero water and conservation. This net zero thing has to have a direct, tangible benefit to our neighbors in Avondale. Otherwise, we're not doing it. That's not like an afterthought thing either. It's like, how is it going to impact our neighbors? And if the answer is not awesome, then we're not going to do it, period. That's what. So real quick on energy, you've all seen this. I'm sure you parked under it, I hope. This is 11 years ago we put this in. This was the largest public array in the United States of America in 2011. Awesome. Link's here somewhere, thank you very much. We own the array now, it's awesome. Shade for moms, which is why we really did. 20% of our power, all these different things. So here's where we're at now. So come by the Zoom, you've seen all the construction. This is the new stuff that's happening right now. This is the current array, the bridge, this is the VA right here. The asphalt is in now, and if it weren't for the fact that the world is literally and figuratively on fire, we would have already started on solar. It's super annoying, it's starting to piss me off. But we are putting in a 2.6 megawatt array, that'll be in next year. One of the cool things, this is 1.6. It shows you how far advanced solar's come in the last 10 years. It's about the same square footage, but almost double the power. And even cooler, we're putting in a 4 megawatt battery. So your zoo will be the first legit microgrid anywhere around here. Totally friggin' awesome. Peak demand, all these great things. So cool. And then we have plans that when these hit about that 25-year mark, roughly, we will send these to Sandusky, Ohio to get recycled. And we will be replacing these on the existing infrastructure, and it will probably triple, go from 1.6 to probably 5. And that point will be net zero in Avenue. But that's not good enough. So, back on our farm, this is a project we started clearing last week. This is another project with the Link Solar Development Corporation. This is not a rendering, but this is what this is going to look like. Putting in a 30 megawatt array on a farm, that's a lot of freaking solar panels. You know, that's 77,000 solar panels. Literally, it's like 140 acres. And these are our lawnmowers. This is Larry and Beth and Frank and Paul, whatever. So this is what our will look like. Native pollinators, the whole thing, carbon sink. We're going to experiment with crops and vegetation because we have like 7,000 rows. So we're experimenting. Big old thing, OSU extension, the whole thing. And this is going to be online, I hope by the end of next year. So our property will produce 5 times as much energy than we consume. 5 times. And so I actually don't need this energy, so we're going to allow our partners, and there's people in this room that represent the organization. I can't say because I'm on an NDA, but you shop there on a regular basis. But they are buying into this array as well to achieve their net zero goals. Because they don't have a farm, they don't have a big warehouse, whatever. So this is a community net zero love fest up here. So they're going to achieve their goals. And in fact, the cool thing about it, our neighbors use the farm. Literally our neighbor, right there. Michelle, and she doesn't have enough room. She wants to expand her flocks. We're like, let's dance. So she's happy. The farmers are happy. The Farm Bureau is engaged. 4-H Club's excited. In Lebanon City Schools, we get $150K a year for the next 40 years because of this project. Any objections, right? So why do these things create so much drama around the country? It's the approach that these developers have. When we started this project, it was talk about a time suck, but that was me going door to door in that area of Warren County saying, here's my card, here's our plans, here's our dreams, we'd love your support. Before we went to the bank, before we went to the county, before we went to anybody. So when we did go to the county, right, because up in Warren County, they're all kind of related up there, right? So yeah, so they're like, oh yeah, my neighbor Larry told me about this is great, we're all in, and how much does Lebanon Schools get? And what do you need from me from a services standpoint? Nothing. No roads, no water, I don't need anything. They're like, this is great. So slam dunk, Warren County, they're all in. This is how you do solar projects in rural America right here. Universal support for this project. So that's not good enough. So we're awesome in energy efficiency. We're awesome in solar. All advanced technologies, all these things, geothermal, solar thermal, yes, we've done it all, it's great. We've done wind, that was a total disaster, but we've done it. So, don't do wind side disasters, trust me. But how do we take that same expertise, that same resource, that same talent and drive outside of our fence? So I'll give you some examples. So this is a few years ago, in partnership with the Cincinnati Reds, Children's, and Procter & Gamble, we went to the West End. So this is the parking lot for the Seven Hills Neighborhood Housing Facilities, the community center down in the West End, right next to what's now FC. And with loving support from Children's and P&G, your zoo's facilities team, who acts as the project managers, we actually get this stuff done. It looks like this today. So, boom, boom. One more time for So there's a few things about this picture. The number of lunches we have missed is 0. The BMI average of my Venus team is a problem. Anyway, but Keynote's got a new program we're going to be all about it. Got like 10 points for every 1,000, whatever. Anyway, so we went into the community center, which is the only community center in the West End. It serves like 2,800 kids a summer. It's where a lot of kids get their meals before and after school, and during the summer they feed them too. They get after school care, they get homework, a lot of other things. It's a beautiful place, and it's a total dump. All volunteer, all this stuff is, so you can walk in there. So we walked in there, and it's like half the ceiling tiles are missing. The ones that were in there had mold. There's like sparks flying off the light fixtures, and like Freddy Krueger scratched his nails against this. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, it was disgusting. So we had gotten some money from the Reds for the MLB All-Star game that year. And your facilities team went in there, and we swapped out 470 light fixtures LED, all the toilet heads, all the flush valves, patched all the HVAC with our partners at Peck, Hannaford, and Briggs, and some other folks. And we took their energy bill, which was $5,000 a month. It was their biggest expense by far. Like the next monthly bill was like $800. It was killing them. We cut that more than in half, right? Which allowed them, among other things, to be able to take some money to invest in an actual paid executive director, Alexa Kidd, right? Which started to turn that organization around. Because when we got done with this with the Reds and P&G, all of a sudden United Way, which had kind of left them alone for a while, because it was now back in, Boys and Girls Club was now back in, and you go to that place today, and it's thriving, right? It's not just because of the zoo, it's because of the team. But my point is, we take what we're good at, and this isn't like some like BS or HR. You get 4 PTO per month to go serve. That's all bullshit. This is, hey guys, we're going down there for a week. We're going to flip that place upside down and make a big damn difference. And they're like, I'm in. They didn't have to. It was volunteer, sort of. You know what I'm saying? Strongly suggested. And we did that. And again, talk about the impact this has on employee morale. By being able to show, hey, you tough guys, we're going to take what you're good at, we're going to get your advice and your thoughts on how to help with this, and we're going to do it together. And it's one of the reasons that people on our facilities team stay until they die. Stuff like this. That's not enough. So this is, sorry about 10 more minutes. Hang on. So this is actually Stephanie Ritchie. She's brand new with us. This is in Roselawn at New Prospect Church, Reverend Lynch's church. So we go to Reverend Lynch's church. It's a long story. And he's like, man, I want solar panels and chickens. It was all part of their master dream. They want to be more sustainable, more self-sufficient, lower their environmental footprint, be the hands and feet of Christ, like all these beautiful things. And we're like, solar panels and chickens. I think it would help. So Malink had some leftover panels that weren't very old. They had a new HQ building. They had to move some things. And Steve Malink's like, man, where can we put these things? I'm like, I know. So Charlie Frank, the Reds, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, we did this. Got with the neighbors, put it all in this beautiful thing, and it looks like this. So this is 30-something kilowatts. The coolest part of this is the chicken coop. So this chicken coop is like so freaking cool. I mean, all designed by our team. Problem is there's chicken shit like everywhere. Like, so they get on these panels, they hop off the fence, the fence isn't tall enough, so they gotta get their hose and get all that. Anyway, so I'm getting derailed now. But we did this for them. And it wasn't any cost to us, it was with our partners. But your facility team got the Bobcat, the concrete, steel out there, dug those foundations, put them in, worked with the neighbors, put in the panels. Beautiful story. Everyone's happy, saving that church a lot of money. That church is the community center for Roseville, because they don't have it. That's where the kids go after school, play basketball, get their homework done, et cetera, et cetera. So that money they save stays in Roselawn, supporting those kids in Roselawn. So, like Avondale, this was a partnership with Duke Energy way back in the day. But the idea was, I went to Duke and I said, hey, I would like $100,000, because you love us, to finish off our LED transition. Because we were down to the last 10%, it's a hard 10%, like weird bulbs and all this other stuff. I'd love $100,000. And if you could throw in $650,000 for Avondale, I'd really appreciate it. And they said, okay. So we went around and we spent Groundworks and Donovan Energy. We spent 2 years going around every hospital, every church, every nonprofit, Gabriel's Place, NAACP, Sickle Cell, I mean, just all of them. CMHA properties, anybody that was a homeowner, we went in their facilities, which I thought, can we just like bring a box? I said, we're coming in. And we're going to talk to you about why this is important, how this has an impact on your children's health. Did you know that childhood asthma rates in Avondale, Ohio, per capita, is worse than they were in the United States of America? Are you surprised? Right? Because we burn coal and natural gas to the west, it gets sucked in the Ohio Valley, right? Some of this is geology. It gets stuck in the 275 loop. A place like Avondale, it just sits there. Asphalt, concrete, bakes. It's a terrible problem. So not only are you going to deal with that, this is going to save you $30 a month in your energy bills. You're talking about energy poverty issues. $30 a month for some of these families is a game-changing amount of money. And you're going to save the polar bears, so everyone's happy. So we did that. The per 5-year energy savings for the people in Avondale, the organizations in Avondale, the per 5-year savings is $1 million freaking dollars. If there's a neighborhood in this town that could use that kind of love, it's Avondale. I'll give you one very specific example. The Urban League, so they have a very large facility. Their annual saving on their energy bills is $22,000. So that's a social services agency that breathes life into Avondale, workforce development, all these different things. They don't have that money to invest in the people in Avondale, right? That's the answer to some of the stuff. So the last example, maybe. So this is Rockdale Academy. So that's Children's Hospital right there. This is Rockdale, and this is a 1-acre patch of grass. This is what the old school used to be. So the new resource officer, Chelsea Nuss, came to the zoo, to Steve and myself, and said, hey, we really want to get going on this local food. We're still a food desert in Avondale, which is super frustrating, but we're still a food desert. And I want to get these kids talking about science and nutrition, all these different things. And is there any way the zoo could build us like a 3-foot by 5-foot thing and put a thing in there and we put a fruit tree? And I'm listening to her, I'm thinking, this is going to get ridiculous. Like in a good way. So I'm listening to her talk, and I'm like, well, okay, well, let's talk a little bit bigger. Like, what are you thinking? You know, so I guess more feedback what your real dream was. So go to Charlie Frank, the Res Community Fund, and our friends at Children's. I'm like, can I have like $250,000 for this? And they're like, sure. Damn it, I should ask for $400,000. So literally, so we went back, and we didn't tell anybody at Rockdale this. We went back to Rockdale and said, if money was not an option, and you could use this whole 1-acre space, what would be your dream? So we listened to the kids and the teachers and the parents and the neighbors. And this is our Dean Violet, our architect, drew this based on what he heard from the neighbors. And this is hoop houses, huge pollinator garden, raised beds, teaching amphitheater, sensory garden for the kids with autism, which is a significant presence here at Rockdale. Bunch of other stuff, I don't know what it is. Commercial greenhouse, like legit commercial greenhouse, and he wanted to be net zero. So if you want to put in an Asian community garden, and you want to do anything related to solar, who would you call? The zoo. So this is what we built. So this is a horrible picture. We put this in last year. This is a terrible picture because I'm an engineer. So if you ever want to like have your spirit revived and like hope restored, you need to drive to Rockdale on the way home tonight and walk through this space. It's spectacular. So we did all the things here, every single one of them. We did every single one of them. So this is the Century Garden over here. This is that commercial greenhouse. This is a 12 kilowatt solar array, the first real solar array in the entire CPS portfolio, which is embarrassing, but also you gotta start somewhere. And we started. And we're gonna do Lincoln Heights, which we started yesterday, which is actually not CPS, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so one of the coolest moments that I had never, that I didn't get on tape, is when we opened this up, the kids came back last fall, it was beautiful, everyone was happy, and it was, COVID was still hanging around, they wanted to have their big gathering, but there was too many people in the cafeteria. COVID was like, let's just do it outside in our new garden. So we had 230 kids out there, all spread around, and they had like their choir group up in the amphitheater, and they all sang God Bless America. I swear if I had a video camera, I'd be playing around and you'd all be crying. I mean, you'd be crying, like ugly crying. I'm not kidding. And I was too, but I didn't get my freaking phone. But the idea here, this isn't just like a pretty community garden. This is the curriculum for the school. So every kid at Rockdale touches this site every day. And it's a mix of science and agriculture, teaching the kids about soil and pH, all these different things. There's a whole track on nutrition and the quality of the food you put in your mouth, how it impacts the quality of your life. There's that whole thing. And then there's a piece that we're still working on, and it's the hustle part. So we're going to teach these kids, we're making things at the property. So, and COVID really threw a wrench in this, but we are getting to a point where we are developing a Rockdale salsa. We're going to make it. The kids are going to make it. You know, the state's on it because that's what you do if you want to sell something in Cincinnati. So imagine like the kids, imagine the scene. So you got the kids making the salsa, like physically making the salsa, canning it, learning about storage and advertising and how to label it, how to market it, and they're going to go to the Hyde Park Farmers Market, and you're seeing this booth with these kids from Rockdale selling this salsa, and we're going to put a stupid amount of money on this thing. It's going to be like $1,000 a pint, and you're all going to buy it, right? Who's going to say no to these kids? Nobody. So we're going to teach these kids about selling stuff and how to hold yourself up and da-da-da in the business, and you're going to take that money, and that money's going to go back in the garden for the next round of compost, which is actually free because it's coming from Fiona, that's a whole other thing. But teaching these kids that you can work hard and sweat and make something of significant value and make money, which is like, yeah, okay, I get that. That's a novel idea in Avondale, Ohio. So the idea of like weaving all what I just said into the curriculum. I just actually took this a couple weeks ago. To me, this is conservation. To me, this is the answer for all the world's problems right here. It's getting kids like this out there, getting their fingernails dirty, and teaching about all these different things. And I'll say this, well, a little bit of rain here, just for a couple minutes. So I know there's a lot of really pro ESG folks in this room, and like pro offset, pro rec, pro all this other stuff. I'm not saying that's horrible. I'm saying it's not good enough, like at all, like not even close. I get so sick of hearing people like, oh, we're going carbon neutral, like whatever. You're just writing a damn check. I'm not saying it's bad, because that money eventually kind of does go back to something in Texas or West, whatever, but it's not having an impact. You can't touch it. You can't point to it and say, this money is having an impact on people directly. Why don't you spend your money on stuff like this? This is what we're doing. We're spending our time, a little bit of money, but it's not a ton, quite frankly, but it's our sweat. Our horticulture team, partners with Groundworks, Magic Brewery, so that's what we're doing. This is our ESG right here. It doesn't qualify for shit. It'll probably fail every test on like whatever. You know, ExxonMobil has like the best ESG there's ever been written, right? Kind of shows you the jokiness of this whole thing, right? So next time you're at your corporate whatever, you're talking about your offsets and your goals and your ESGs and all this, please think about this. Say, hey, how do we take our staff and maybe not instead of writing that check, but maybe in addition to writing the check, let's get our staff outside in these neighborhoods and make a significant difference with these kids. Because if we all did that, I swear half the problems in this world would disappear overnight. Can I get an amen? An amen. And then, because I said so, we're going to plan on. So, last thing, I will say two last things. 16 years, no idea what I was doing, no experience, no plan, still don't have a plan. I hate plans, I hate strategy, I hate policy, I hate rules. There's two things that I've seen, if you want to get after it and like change the game, two things. You have to be willing to break the rules. And I'm talking sometimes like break the laws. One, it's fun, right? But if you stay within the lanes, it's never gonna friggin' change. It's gonna be the same old shit over and over again. You have to break the rules. And I'm telling you, back on this ESG thing, put down the spreadsheets and put down the reports and pick up your shelf. That's what's going to make the difference. Thanks for your time. Appreciate y'all.